Hello and welcome to a look at Deluxe Pacman for the Amiga, a game that was released by EMW software, made by a gentleman called, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly, Edgar M. Vigdal. Of course, I have already covered one of his other games, the very amazing Deluxe Galaga, where a relatively simple game was taken to a completely different level. When it comes to Pacman, I don't think there's any gamer, and I'm fairly sure there's a lot of non-gamers as well that's not familiar with this game. It is one of the most well-known and, surprisingly you could argue, one of the most well-loved games ever devised. You run around as a Pacman in different mazes and have to munch your dots. Let's call them dots. Let's not call them an object of medicinal nature because it just sounds wrong. But anyway, go around munching dots while avoiding ghosts in the process, and once you have munched all the dots on the level, you will progress to the next level. Each level usually features 4 power pills that you can munch, and once you munch those power pills, Pacman is capable of eating the ghosts chasing him. And of course, the more ghosts you munch on, the more points you score, and you have to try and time it in such a way that you get maximum benefit from it. Even though, from a gameplay point of view, I'm fairly sure that expert players, and there are actually quite a few players take this game extremely seriously. Expert players use the power pills to secure a group of dots that are elsewhere, or otherwise even relatively inaccessible. So the game concept is extremely simple, and I think that is one of the reasons why it is enjoyed by a lot of people, because it's a game you can just boot it up and play it for a bit and then not worry about it anymore. It actually requires quite a lot of planning, because of course the ghost will try to box you in. I have played Pacman versions where the ghosts are excessively even skilled at boxing you in, and it makes the game rather unenjoyable, to be honest, because they have to have a certain level of stupidity in order to provide for a challenge that is still manageable. Because of course, a program that just tells the ghost to go directly for Pacman when there's 4 of them and 1 of you, it's relatively simple for this game type to be absolutely ruined by an overzealous enemy AI, to use a modern term. For me personally, I'm not the greatest fan of Pacman, and then I start playing it, and then suddenly I spend an hour or 2 playing it. It's one of those games, you know. I wouldn't necessarily be looking forward to playing Pacman, but once I start playing it, it's hard to let it go. And that is another thing to be said for this classic. It is extremely simple, and if you're looking for something more challenging, then it's not exactly going to be very fulfilling. But if you just want to sit and have a 20-minute gaming experience, then it is not bad at all. I would say that Edgar M. Vigdal has, as he did with Deluxe Galaga, done the same to the classic Pacman that he did with that game, which is to take a relatively simple game and modify the general theme and upgrade it slightly. It is still easily recognizable as being Pacman, of course, but just like with Galaga, it offers a few extras that you wouldn't necessarily see in a normal Pacman game. You can get power-ups, you can get a gun, so you can go around shooting the ghost instead, which is always nice, getting a bit of payback. And of course you have relatively advanced graphics. I know Pacman is not exactly a game that necessarily needs to be the most advanced game looking game, but it is definitely improved over the original. The maze designs are relatively similar, but there is small differences, and even though it's the same, it's not the same. And of course, that's another thing that detracts a bit from the potential monotony. But all things aside, Pac-Man is a score chaser, more so than anything else. And of course, you can see how far you can get if that kind of game is to your liking. If you don't like Pac-Man at all, then of course it's going to be absolutely pointless, but you know what I mean. From a graphical point of view, I think this is, again, just like he did with Galaga, improved without going over the top. It's definitely a lot cleaner than the very first version of Pacman, which makes sense because it was made in 1982, I think 1981 even, I can't remember. Ancient game, whatever. But it is very, very nice looking without being over the top. Exactly like he did with Galaga. And it suits the game. You can easily tell it's Pacman, and it doesn't look too spacey. The music in the introduction is very, very enjoyable. And of course the sound effects are, again, one of those areas where you have to be careful about not going too far, or you will push it beyond what the game is. But that slight fart sound when you die, I do find hilariously enjoyable because I'm about 4 years old. The only thing I can say about this is Edgar did it again. He made a version of a classic, well-known game and souped it up and made it a bit more than it already was. And of course the fact that he released it to the gaming public without having to pay a shareware fee for people to enjoy. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.